Any project, any initiative, any building that we looked our affiliates in the eyes and said to them, don't worry, you can count on us. Since March, the statement has not changed even a little bit. Just this week, I must have had probably close to 10, over a dozen planning meetings with architects, with contractors, with our affiliates themselves, and every single meeting starts the same way. They look you in the eyes and they say, listen, I've got my whole organization riding on this initiative. Are you guys with me? Because they are very scared. There is a hard situation going on across the ocean, and there's a real fear that our affiliates are going to be abandoned. And I can look at them because of the numbers Mitch just presented, because of the strength that this board shows day in, day out, because of the engagement we're doing. I look them in the eyes and I tell them JNF is with you. We're committed, we're not going anywhere, and you don't have to worry. And you know what? I won't mention the name because many of you on this call know this specific CEO looked me back in the eyes after I said that and said, because of what you just said, I'm gonna sleep tonight. And that, what you have to understand is the power of what goes on in your board meeting and what goes on after your board meeting and what goes on in the follow-up you do together with the professionals on the ground, that the CEOs, that the planners, that the initiatives, that those affiliates that are running the programs on the ground can say, I can sleep at night because of individuals like you. Now, I try to break it down a little bit because Don asked me to give you the inside scoop. What's the inside scoop? We're transparent as it comes in organizations. Before I even get a memo to Mitch, everybody already knows about what's going on the ground. So I'll try to give you a little bit of what's been going on this week and the last couple of weeks. I think just split it into a few things, strengthen from within. I think community, society, aliyah, healthcare, these are various words and various initiatives and action areas that we are very involved in. If you look over here on the top left, you'll see a picture of what looks like an empty room. And it looks like an empty room with some nice light fixtures, but really what it is the new Wadi Atir Visitor Center that they built. And you have no idea the wonderful Bedouin community outside of Khura, a project that JNF has been invested in at the time for many years. The pride that they have that they built a new store to sell the products that they were worried no one was going to know about. And then you just go around the little slide that you have in front of you. On the top right, you have the sketch for the Mort and Toby Maurer Aliyah Pavilion that is being built in the Nefesh B'Nefesh Aliyah campus in the entrance to Jerusalem, an initiative that JNF is a part of and is a part of our DNA. You know, these are the type of things that we are going to strengthen from within, because in times like this, we have to double down and we know what works. Aliyah is important. Strengthening the communities that in times of need would somewhat be forgotten, like the Bedouin community in the Negev, and we today count on us. And then you move down to the bottom right of the screen and you see the medical center that we're working on. We just got the land allocation and working on permits. Mitch hears permits and it makes his goosebumps, because getting building permits in Israel is about as hard as landing on the moon. And we've done that more often than we've gotten good building permits, but we'll not get into that now. But we're building the medical center in the frontier of Israel, Kiryat Shmona. And bottom left, you have the Alei Negev Rehabilitation Hospital, the first hospital in 40 years to be built in the Negev in Ofakim, an $80 million initiative in which JNF is about half. I just put this in as we were going, strengthen from within, the Gaza envelope communities, the Eschkal region. We are creating and building an Eschkal fortified play school, we're calling it. It is going to be a fortified 10,500 foot structure to give a place, a safe haven for the people of Eschkal that live and under the threat of the Gaza envelope. And we just got this morning. If you look on the top left, the top right, you'll see a rendering. This little video we got this morning in our inbox of a drone footage of the skeleton. They're putting up the first floor. You guys are actually the first people to see it. Outside of, I think there was 4 people copied on the email, Mitch. You guys are the first ones to see it. It's unbelievable to go from plans. If you see that building, this is a part of a huge complex, the educational complex in the Eschkal region. I promise you guys, when you look and you hear and you go out to these solicitations, or now we'll do it on Zoom, and you see these little proposals with some sketches and some plans, this is what it translates into. with hard work, sweat, tears, as they say in Hebrew, you spit blood over it, but then you get a gorgeous complex like you guys are looking at. And this is what it looks like to build a country. Again, another amazing thing from this week on the ground, the Sderot Rockland Resilience Center that we're building, another 8,000-foot gorgeous structure, state-of-the-art for the Resilience Center of Sderot. I don't need to tell you the barrage of rockets that the Sderot has endured over the last 10 years. If you look on the bottom left, that's 1 month ago, where they had a few sticks in the ground. And last week, they laid over 14 tons of concrete for the bottom floor. This is what we are doing. And this is from last week, my friends. I'll send you the picture so you can go out and say, what is JNF doing throughout the pandemic? This is what Jewish National Fund is doing throughout the pandemic, continuing to strengthen from within. You should just know, on a side note, I had a meeting last week with the head of the Resilience Center to make sure we're on target. And he told me, I feel bad for the people in Tel Aviv. And I asked him, this is the head of the Sderot Resilience Center. And he looked at me and he said, I feel bad for the people of Tel Aviv. And I said, what are you talking about? And they looked at me in the room and they said, you know what? There is a spike of over 30% of demand for Resilience Center treatments because of COVID. People have PTSD from the pandemic. And they said to me, they said, in Gaza Envelope and in Sderot, we have our Resilience Centers, state of the art. Because you guys didn't forget about us, and now we can answer that demand with supply. But in the center of the country, not so sure they're going to be able to handle such a spike. And he looked at me and he said, we're going to teach everybody in the country how to do this. And the first thing they did in the beginning of the pandemic is we had all the affiliates of Jewish National Fund get together, and the staff of the Sderot Resilience Center did a mindfulness session, because they said, you know what? You guys are feeling pain that we know all too well. Maybe we can help you with that. And this is what we're a part of. That's the answer in the middle of a pandemic. Not to talk too much about it, but I couldn't go without showing this amazing map of the Jewish National Fund housing development sites. You have over 1,300 housing lots in 29 communities. And what I take away from the map that you're looking at in front of you, if you see the little orange dots, you look at the frontier of Israel, and you ask, what does the housing fund do? Well, you know, someone said they're like the jocks of JNF. They walk around and they talk a big game, but what is it all about? And you look at that, or those orange dots, and you look at how you can develop the frontier and strengthen the borders of Israel, not with guns and not with tanks, even though this was a great picture on the bottom left, I could not put it in. But not with that, but with people, with families. These are not disputed areas, and I don't even get into that. This is all about taking a piece of land that someone thought was barren and turning it into the most beautiful thing on the face of this earth. And every single one of those dots and every single one of those numbers is another family, another community, another synagogue, another temple, another community center, another Jewish National Fund community that this room was a part of. Strengthen the economy, just like Mitch said. We are talking about the GCI, the Galilee Culinary Institute. These are renderings and renditions of what the future site will look like. These are fresh, hot off the presses from 3 weeks ago. If you're looking on the left, two sketches, that is the Culinary Institute itself. You have the top, the bottom. There's going to be an overview of the beautiful Upper Galilee. And then on the right, you have the dorms. We call them dorms, even though it's the understatement of the century. It's going to be a beautiful, high-class housing area for the students. We have visiting lectures, chefs from France and Italy that are going to be guest lectures in our center. The top right, you have the Mitzvah Ramon Innovation Hub that is going to be high-quality employment and drive startups to the Negev. And I have a little picture of Akko because it is so fresh, there's not even a rendition. We are talking about the Louder Employment Center in the Galilee. One of the hardest challenges in the Upper Galilee and the Galilee overall is employment, and high quality employment. We're talking about wages that are about 30% less than what you would expect, and about 15% less than the standard mean of salaries from the center of the country. So what we are trying to do is take that model of success that we had in Beersheba, that anchor of the Louder Employment Center, run together with our affiliates down there, and trying to make the success and create that magic up north. We are looking actually at properties right next to our Tourist Information Center in Akko, and try to create an ecosystem of tourism, high quality employment, and most of all, perception. That when you think of the Upper Galilee, you don't think of low-class jobs and a place that you can buy cheap. You think of the Galilee Culinary Institute. You think of high-quality employment, and you think of an amazing, a beautiful a catalyst to drive up our GDP that unfortunately is taking quite a hit right now. I think that I can talk now for hours. I really don't want to keep you on it for hours, especially because it's getting a little late here. But really, what I started with was the key point of my presentation today. When I walk into a room with plans and we go over budget meetings, it's gruesome. It's important. We have to do it. It's what we do in order to bring it from a vision to fruition. But when I can look the CEOs, when I can look the mayors, when I can look the ministers of government, when I can look at all these individuals, and the only way I can do this and look them in the eye and tell them that you don't have to worry. We can't pay for everything because we all took a hit, but we're here to stay. And we're here to make sure that you can sleep at night. And we're here to make sure that we're going to strengthen and make sure there's a more prosperous future for the land of Israel. And sometimes people will throw out these words as these great things to say and buzzwords and marketing. And wow, that's a great way to drive up your campaign, prosperous future for the land of Israel. But if you've seen anything from the last 20 minutes from what Mitch started with, the man that keeps our organization afloat and makes sure that we can keep the lights on, to the pictures that you saw, it's not even me. I am just I work for you guys. I'm just a shaliach mitzvah, as they say. I'm just the messenger. Look for the pictures, look at these pictures, and know that this is what you're a part of. The bigger picture is really not a buzzword, but really creating a more prosperous future for the land of Israel. And when I look these guys in the eyes, I do it with you in the room. And from 6,500 miles away, all I can really say is thank you. Thank you for getting on the Zooms, and thank you for getting your friends on the Zooms, and thank you for staying engaged and helping us keeping everybody engaged, because that's the way we're going to get through this. We're going to